Hi, welcome to the UC Santa Cruz Financial Aid and Residency presentation. My name is Diana Smith and I'm a Financial Aid Advisor here at UC Santa Cruz, and my partner is
Gloria Lozano. I'm the Campus Residence Deputy and Veteran Certifying Official. So those are the topics I'm going to talk about later after Diana's presentation.
So I'm going to go through some key points in financial aid, and then we're also going to have time at the end for some questions if you do have some questions for us. Okay. So the first thing I'd like to talk about is UC Santa Cruz overlooks the Monterey Bay Sanctuary and is one of the most beautiful campuses in the world. So if you come here, don't be surprised if you see deer in the trees, but it is a beautiful campus for students and parents to come and visit.
It's very true. I love the deer here and all the wildlife on campus. You hear owls and get to see hawks. Anyway.
So UC Santa Cruz's Financial Aid and Scholarship Office awards over $212 million of financial aid to students every year. So for the 2013 and 14 academic year, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the cost of attendance, which is how much it would cost a student to attend UC Santa Cruz for 1 year. So as part of our budget, there are different components that we break it down with. So the first thing is it includes the tuition, the housing and food, the books, the transportation, and the personal expenses. So with this budget, it should include everything that you need to attend UC Santa Cruz for 1 year. It doesn't include any expenses like if you have credit card debt or any outside expenses, but it's just your educationally related expenses. So for 2013-2014, the total cost was $32,748. Now that is an estimated amount, so it may not cost you this much to attend UC Santa Cruz for 1 year, just depending on other resources you might have or how much you decide to spend on books or your housing or those expenses. If you are a non-resident student or an international student, you're also charged the non-resident tuition, and that amount is $22,878. And so your total budget for the year is $55,626. So it is a significant increase if you are an out-of-state student or if you're a non-resident student. So the types of financial aid that we do offer, there's several different types. There's grants and scholarships, and that is free money. So anything that you see as part of your financial aid package that includes the grants and scholarships, that's a huge benefit to you because it's money that does not have to be repaid at a later date. Okay. If you do receive loans and work study, they are also considered financial aid awards. Loans do need to be repaid at a later date. And work study is an award where, just like a regular job where you come to campus, you work at a job on campus, and then the funds that you receive, you get paid in a regular paycheck, and you can use those expenses or that paycheck to pay for your educational expenses, to buy your books or pay for other things. Now, how do you apply for financial aid? So it's the same process every year. So when you come in here as an incoming freshman, you're going to go through the same process as you do when you're a sophomore, junior, and senior. Okay? So you have to reapply every year. The first step is to complete the FAFSA application, and we highly recommend that you complete the online application. If you do have trouble, there are a few paper applications available, but it does take quite a bit longer to process that application. So we really do recommend that you do it online. The priority filing period is January 1st through March 2nd. So if you are considering applying for financial aid, now is actually the time that you should start applying for this upcoming fall 2014 quarter. Okay. You must apply every year. So just because you do it one time, it doesn't mean it carries over for the next upcoming years that you're here. So you have to redo the FAFSA application every year.
Now, Diana, does that also include the California DREAM Act application? Does it have the same deadline?
Yeah, so the California DREAM Act does have the same deadlines and has the same same process. So you have to redo the application every year. Okay.
Oh, great, thank you.
And so sometimes what schools will do, and UC Santa Cruz does this as well, is if we request additional documentation to verify your information, you want to make sure you meet those deadlines. And for us, it's June 15th. You want to check with the other schools that you may be applying to, as they may have different deadlines as well, because not everyone has that June 15th deadline. Okay. The other thing that you want to do is, if you are a California resident only, then you can also apply for the Cal Grant and send your GPA verification form in. They are very strict about that March 2nd deadline, so you really want to make sure you do meet that deadline if you are applying for the Cal Grant. If you are a current high school student, what you can do is ask your high school counselor to send in your GPA verification for you. They just include your GPA and then your social security number, and then you don't actually have to do the application. It's already done for you if your high school counselor can do that for you. Okay. Now, how your financial aid is determined is once you complete that FAFSA application, it then determines an estimated family contribution, or what you're going to hear a lot probably is what they call the EFC. They take your budget, which I kind of went over previously, that cost of your attendance, a little over $32,000, and then they subtract the estimated family contribution from your FAFSA application once you complete that, and then it determines your financial aid eligibility. So from here, we then see how much grants, loans, and work study you're actually eligible for. Okay. Here's just some sample financial aid packages for you. The first one is if you have a 0 estimated family contribution. And what that means, the estimated family contribution, is what the federal government expects your family to be able to contribute towards your education. So in the first one, when it's 0, that means when we process you for financial aid, we're going to give you the maximum amount of financial aid that you have, that you are eligible for. So in this case, if you have a 0 estimated family contribution, we take the budget, we'd look at the grant eligibility, so the $23,724, and then subtract your work study and your loans, and then that would be your financial aid package. Now remember, loans do have to be repaid, but they are considered financial aid, so they are going to be included as part of your financial aid package. The second sample is a person who has a $5,000 estimated family contribution, and so their grant is going to be reduced a bit, and because they have that estimated family contribution. So like I said, the government is expecting your family to be able to contribute that $5,000 towards your education. It doesn't mean you're going to get a bill for $5,000. It just means that your family may have to give you that money to buy books or pay for, your housing or other expenses that you might have.
So Diana, I'm going to pause you here. We're getting a lot of questions from students about what work study is. Can you explain work study a little bit more?
Absolutely. So work study is an award where you have to be financially eligible in order to receive it. So if you have the financial need, we'll include it as part of your financial aid package. But when you get a job on campus, so you work at a regular job on campus, most of the jobs are on campus, the work study positions, when you are paid, half of your paycheck is funded by the federal government, the other half is paid by your employer. So some employers on campus will only hire students who have work study. Now, it's not a loan or a grant, so if you never use it, it doesn't hurt you in any way. But it just means that there's kind of a shortfall or a little bit of money that you have to pay for and make up in other ways. Either your parents can help you give you a contribution with that, or you can have money set aside, like possibly from your savings, to help pay for those expenses if you don't find a work study position.
Excellent. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are eligible for federal work study, I would encourage you to definitely apply in campus offices. I know the Office of the Registrar has federal work studies, at least 3 or 4 that we use every quarter. And it's a great way for you to learn some job skills while you're in school. So I definitely encourage students to apply.
Right, and apply early. And the other thing is, especially as an incoming freshman, it might be a little bit difficult, but if you know or have friends who already are in departments or have work study jobs, that's really the best way for you to get in and find a job.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to go a little bit about campus scholarships. So we have the UC Santa Cruz Merit Scholarship Program, and the two main scholarships that make up this program is the Region Scholarship and then the Campus Merit Scholarships. You don't have to do a separate a scholarship application to apply for these scholarships. Your admissions application will automatically act as your scholarship application. So don't worry about completing another application. From there, once we look at your admissions applications, we actually will determine if you are eligible for the scholarships. They're based on academic merit, but they're also based on financial need. And so it's a combination of that we'll look at, and so we'll determine who is eligible. Okay. There are restricted scholarships on campus within the departments, so a lot of times if you're in music or you're in chemistry, some of those departments will have scholarships. So if you're an incoming freshman, you already have a particular major or a particular area of interest, you can also check with those departments to see if they have any scholarships available to you. Yeah. Available 2014-2015, so that means that this upcoming academic school year starting in the fall quarter, there's a state scholarship for students with a family income of under $150,000. The scholarship is done based on a sliding scale. So we're still trying to figure out how to implement the scholarship within the financial aid office and how we're going to award it to students. But based on your income from $150,000 down will determine how much of the scholarship you are eligible for. Okay, it's UC and Cal State specific, so it's not available at the community colleges, but it is available at the UCs and the state schools. Okay, and FAFSA and DREAM applicants will be considered for eligibility of the scholarship automatically. So you're not going to have to submit another application to see if you're eligible for that particular scholarship. Now there still is the Blue and Gold Opportunity Plan, and this is for families whose income is under $80,000 total. So it's supposed to ensure that undergraduate California residents receive enough gift aid to help pay their UC fees for 1 year. A little bit of a caveat with this: if you are a student who's already receiving a Cal Grant, you are not eligible for the Blue and Gold. So it's one or the other. The other thing that they take into consideration is they also look at some of the scholarships that you're receiving. So if you're receiving a tuition-specific paying scholarship, then you would also not be eligible for the Blue and Gold. So non-resident and international students, because that out-of-state tuition that you pay is so high, there is an award called the Undergraduate Dean's Award that's available to you. The freshmen receive, or the frosh receive, $20,000 over the period of time that you're here, and then the junior transfers receive $10,000. So that's, if you're, the $20,000 is spread over 4 years, and the $10,000 is spread over a period of 2 years. So that's not the total amount you would receive in 1 year. Okay, so for instance, a freshman would receive $4,000 their first and second year, and then $6,000 their third and fourth year. Okay, the Parent Plus loans are offered to non-resident students to help cover that out-of-state portion, because as an out-of-state student, you cannot receive more financial aid than a California resident or an in-state student. So there's that Undergraduate Dean's Award, and then the rest of it needs to be covered by a parent loan or any outside funding that you might have. Okay. The STARS office, which is the Services for Transfer and Reentry Students, so this is mostly for transfer students, offers a wide variety of support through the Smith Renaissance Society. So to see if you actually do qualify for the Smith Renaissance Society, you can definitely contact our office, but it basically is for, it offers services to former foster youth, orphans, wards of the court, the homeless, and the runaway youth. They also offer mentoring programs, and there's scholarships available with this as well. And so it really is a good resource if you find that you fit into this category for once you come on campus. It connects you with a community of students who may be able to help you further once you're here.
The STARS office also has the Veteran Service Office that is located on campus for students, for veteran students to find peer mentors, student support, and community outreach. They also have various activities and events planned out throughout the quarter, just to have other student veterans engage with other student veterans for support. So again, hi, I'm Gloria, and I'm just going to cover a bit about residency and veterans. I want to talk about the UC residence requirements and for tuition purposes, some of the exemptions, residency as it pertains to international students, AB 540 versus the California DREAM Act or Dreamers, and then finally veterans benefits. So the reason why we have to basically review all students' residency status is so that we can determine whether we're going to charge the student as an in-state or an out-of-state student. And there are 4 requirements which students and parents have to fulfill in order to establish residency. The first is physical presence, which means that students and parents would have to have been living physically in California for at least 366 days preceding the term that they are applying for. The second is they must establish their intent to remain in the state of California by severing their legal ties with their former state and then establishing those ties here in California shortly after moving. The third is the financial aspect, and this means that if their student is under age 24 and an undergraduate, the student must be dependent upon a California resident parent or fulfill the university's financial independence requirement. And fourth, the students and parents must also either be a citizen, a U.S. citizen, or in a qualifying immigration status. You can find out more information and more details about these requirements located in the UC Residence Policy and Guidelines, which is located on the Office of the Registrar's website. In addition to the website, on the website, we also have available handouts. The student information sheet is pretty helpful. It just kind of goes over what I just explained about as far as the residency guidelines and the requirements, and then the 10 things that undergraduate and graduate students need to know about establishing residency. And these documents are available in both English and Spanish versions. You'll also find other forms on the website, such as the Statement of Legal Residence, which is what we use for new and readmit students, the petition for a change of legal residence status, which is used if a student comes in and is entered as a non-resident student, but in a future quarter feels that they have met the UC requirements for residency, then they can petition for that quarter. There's also the AB 540 application that is available on our website. Students have to adhere to the filing deadlines, which are also published for each term. And one of the exemptions I want to talk about is the AB 540 non-resident tuition exemption. This is a California high school exemption and is available for students who have completed at least 3 years of high school in California and then graduate or receive the equivalent in California. I will talk a little bit more about the criteria and what's involved with that in the next couple of slides. I'm sorry. Then the next exemption is the conduit exemption, and this is the dependent of a California resident parent. So if a student can prove that they are the dependent of a California resident parent who meets the UC residence requirements, but they live out of state with another parent, this student can qualify for the conduit exemption for 1 year, during which time that student must take steps to become a California resident themselves. And then we have military exemptions that's available for students who are stationed in California, as well as perhaps stationed outside of California through the federal law, but their primary domicile or their permanent duty station is in California. There's more explanation, there are more details about these exemptions as well as other exemptions available in the UC policy and guidelines. So in regards to visa statuses, the F and the J visas are in fact student visas, and unfortunately these students are not able to establish residency because their primary purpose for being in the United States is to pursue their education goals. So they will be classified as non-residents. I want to talk about the T and the U visa because these are fairly new, and in some cases, the T and U visa holder may be eligible for a resident classification if they meet the guidelines, or they may be eligible for the non-resident tuition exemption if they have met the same high school criteria as AB 540. But they wouldn't be an AB 540 student, it would fall under a different exemption. There are many other visas that are a lot of visas on the website, so you can definitely read more about which visa statuses can establish residency or not in the UC Residence Policy and Guidelines. There's an actual chart in there that you can look at, and it will tell you whether or not your visa status could qualify. So on AB 540, the non-resident tuition exemption, again, I mentioned that this is a high school exemption, and it's for students who are U.S. citizens. They could be an eligible non-citizen or undocumented. They must complete at least 3 years of high school in California at a California high school and then graduate or receive the equivalent in California. These students are considered and classified non-resident, however they are assessed in-state fees, and they may or may not be eligible to file a FAFSA depending on their immigration or citizenship status.
Oh, and one piece about the FAFSA application, if you're not sure about your citizenship status, is the FAFSA application will clearly state whether you are eligible to apply for the FAFSA application or not. And if you are questioning whether you should apply for the AB 540, the same thing. That application will specify whether you are eligible to apply for that application or not regarding your citizenship status.
Thanks, Diana. Regarding the California DREAM Act and residency, these students are actually undocumented or in an applied permanent resident status, so they are unable to file a FAFSA at this point. In order to qualify for the DREAM Act, however, they must be AB 540 eligible. In other words, they must have completed the same criteria as an AB 540 student. They would receive either a non-resident or a resident classification depending on their immigration status, and they are, however, either way, they're assessed in-state fees. So I wanted to talk a little bit about veterans education benefits that are offered here at UC Santa Cruz. A lot of the students who are eligible may be eligible under the CalVet waiver if they are the dependent of a parent who with a service-connected disability. The CalVet waives the student services fee as well as the tuition, and that is for each quarter that the student is eligible. The Survivors and Dependents Assistance Program under Chapter 35 is another benefit that is for dependents of veterans, and the veteran must have a service-connected disability that is totally disabled them or they are deceased. In this program, the student would receive a monthly stipend. For the Montgomery GI Bill, either an active duty Chapter 30 or the 1606 Selective Reserves, this is for veterans who are eligible, and they would also receive a monthly stipend. The next program is Chapter 33. It is the post 9/11 GI Bill. In this program, not only do the students receive a monthly housing allowance, but their tuition and fees are paid for at the UC Santa Cruz. And in addition, they also would receive a book stipend. In this program, parents who are the veteran are also eligible to transfer their entitlement to their dependents, either spouse or child, as long as they have met the requirements according to the Department of Defense. There are other program benefits available which you can read through on the UCSC Veteran Services website, and such as vocational rehabilitation, which is a Chapter 31, or the tuition assistance program. And in addition, there are other resources that you can find on that website, which would take you to how to apply for these benefits. And there's a checklist which is very helpful for veteran students. Oh, and this concludes our presentation. Thank you very much. We hope you found this information helpful, and now we're ready for questions.
Well, thank you so much to you both. That was really fantastic. The great news is we have wonderful questions. Many students are really interested in the information that you've shared so far.
Okay.
Some of the first question we got actually is from Morgan, who wants to know, can I apply for the FAFSA at UCSC before I've been admitted? So,
Yes.
Anna, so
Absolutely. You should not wait until your admission, before you have been admitted to UCSC to complete your FAFSA application. You actually should complete that ahead of time. We may not download your application until the student's actually admitted, but please include UCSC on your our school code when you complete your application, because you're going to be able to list 8 to 10 schools on that initial application. And then if you need to add more schools even after that, once you've sent off the first round of the first batch to the first schools, you can go back to your FAFSA application, remove those schools, and then continue to add more schools.
Excellent. Well, we have a question from Maria who wants to know, is there an alternate application for the Blue and Gold Opportunity Plan?
No, there is no separate application for the Blue and Gold Opportunity Plan, or the kind of middle class scholarship is what they're calling the one where you can receive it based on a sliding scale with the income of $150,000 or less. Once you complete the FAFSA application, we will determine if you're actually eligible for the Blue and Gold. So no separate application.
So talk a little bit about the timeline about when people are notified about their financial aid package or their residency status and how they're notified. We're getting a lot of questions kind of around notification. How do I know I'm eligible for X, Y, Z?
Okay. So what you want to do is please make sure to complete your FAFSA application right away. Okay, like I said, now between January 1st and March 2nd is that priority deadline filing time, so don't wait. Okay. The second thing is we really try and notify students, especially the incoming frosh, before you have to make a decision by May 1st. So as long as you've met all of our deadlines as far as completing the FAFSA by March 2nd and turning any additional documentation by the middle of April, which is the date for the incoming frosh, then our goal is to notify you before May 1st so that you can make a final decision as to which school you'll attend by that date.
And where are they notified of their financial aid information? Where can they find it?
You're going to be notified via email and online through your student portal. So there's no paper notifications that are sent out for financial aid purposes. So you will receive everything's electronic. So definitely check there and make sure all of that is up to date.
And if they don't hear anything?
Always ask questions. If you're not sure of something or you haven't received anything you think you should have, please contact us in the financial aid office. We are open all year round, so there won't be a vacation time. So you can definitely contact us at any time, and anyone there will be able to help you.
And what about residency? How do they find out about the residency status?
Okay, so as far as residency, when you have accepted your admission to the university, if you are required to complete the statement of legal residence, then it will pop up on your to-do list in your student portal. It's called your myucsc.edu, and when you look on there, when you click on that, on the details of that, you will find the form, and or if we move into the online portion of it, then you'll just complete it online. And in any case, once you complete it and it is submitted to our office, then we will turn around. Usually, it depends on the time frame, but the turnaround time can be anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks, sometimes longer during peak times. But the place where you will check is in your portal, in your My Residency Information. It's the My Residency Information page in your Student Center that will give you your status.
And then the other thing I do want to add with that is sometimes students are required to complete a statement of legal residence even though you know you are a California resident. Sometimes what triggers that is you want to make sure when you do your admissions application that you answer each question completely. And so if you miss a question or if you answer something incorrectly, that'll trigger the requirement for that, which can delay the process even further for you. So if you take the time up front to make sure all your questions are answered correctly, then you won't have to kind of deal with that on the back end.
Excellent. We're getting questions from students who are at a community college, and they're saying, I've maxed out my financial aid at my junior college. will that happen to me at UCSC? Will I still be able to receive aid?
Yes, so you should be still eligible for financial aid once you come to a UC or to a state school. The financial aid at a community college is a lot different than it is at a UC, especially here at UCSC because it's a bit more expensive for you to attend the UC. So the loans increase, the grant increases as well, and there may be a lot more grant funding that you were not eligible to receive before, just because it's not as expensive to attend a community college. But there are loan limits, and so you can definitely check with us once you come to the UC. But I think it's really unlikely that any student at a community college would have hit those loan limits before you transfer to UC.
Excellent. Darius has a question for you, Gloria. His son, they are California natives who are living abroad, and they want to know if their son attends UC Santa Cruz for a year, will he qualify for California tuition?
It depends. Most likely not, because students who are under age 24 derive their resident status from their parents. So if the student is still living, if the student's parents are still living abroad and not California residents, then the student will continue to be a non-resident student, no matter how long they've been living here, until that student reaches 24 or turns 24 in that calendar year. They can apply beginning a winter quarter.
Excellent. And where can they find more information? Just I remind folks again where they can find more information.
Definitely. More information about these regulations are listed in the UC Residence Policy and Guidelines located on the Office of the Registrar's website at registrar, registrar.ucsc.edu, and you want to click on Residency for Tuition Purposes, and then you'll see the handouts as well as the UC Residence Policy and Guidelines.
Great. Anne would like to know, are grants and scholarships ever guaranteed over 4 years? And what about tuition costs? Are they ever guaranteed over 4 years? Is there any way to know what the cost will be across 4 years?
We would like to know what it would be across 4 years. So we try and determine the budgets for the academic year. So that's only one school year. So that would include the fall, winter, and spring quarters. Unfortunately, there's no guarantee that we can make over a period of 4 years, just because we're subject to what the government says. If they decide and the state says, if they decide to do a tuition increase in the middle of the year, which has happened in the past, the students do have to deal with those mandatory increase in those fees. But from a financial aid, our office, for financial aid purposes, we do try and work so that it makes as little impact as possible for the student. So we look at grant funding to see if we can increase it to help cover those increases, because we know that is really difficult for families. Now for financial aid, it's the same thing. That's why you have to complete the FAFSA application every year, is because you're reevaluated for financial aid every year. Your circumstances may change from one year to the next, so nothing's kind of guaranteed over a period of 4 years. We can only do a guarantee for every year, for one academic year.
Excellent. And Ryan has a question about, how do I submit a Cal Grant application?
So the Cal Grant application, if you're a current high school student, what you can do is ask your high school counselor to submit the GPA, it's called a GPA verification form, to the California Student Aid Commission, who is Cal Grant. And what they do is they need to verify your GPA the first year that you apply for the Cal Grant. You don't have to maintain that GPA for the subsequent years that you receive the Cal Grant, but when you initially apply, you do have to meet that GPA requirement. So ask your high school counselor to do that for you. If they cannot, then you can also get the form online and do it yourself. But a lot of high schools will do it on the behalf of the student.
Peter would like to know, does the university arrange loans as a part of the package, or are they independent of the school?
So the federal direct loans, the subsidized and the unsubsidized loan and the Perkins loan, will automatically be included as part of your financial aid package, and loans are considered financial aid. So you will never, I shouldn't say never, but it's very unlikely that you will see a financial aid package that is all grant funding, just because we don't have the grant funding to award students financial aid packages without loans. Okay, so you'll always see loans in there. When you do your FAFSA application, we'll include those loans as part of your financial aid package. If the loans are not enough, because the federal government does set limits as to how much loan funding you can borrow every year, then there are also the options of applying for private loans or having your parents apply for a parent loan as well.
Excellent. Well, we have Teresa has a very specific question to her personal situation and her financial aid. Where can she go to get her very specific questions answered?
If you have a special circumstance, which definitely a lot of students do, your parents just recently, or one of your parents just recently lost a job, or they're going through a divorce, or any other extenuating circumstances that you might have, you can actually go on the financial aid website, and there's some forms that you can fill out to let us know what your special circumstances are. The other way you can do that is to have your parent or your family write a letter to us in the financial aid office so that we can review what the special circumstances are. Now be prepared if you have anything like that. For instance, your parents are going through a divorce, so there isn't the dual income that there previously might have been to help pay for school. We will ask for documentation. So aside from the letter, you kind of have to be prepared to submit probably tax returns and any other additional documentation to support your situation.
Excellent. So, how much financial aid will the middle class scholarship cover, or how much will it cover?
We don't know for sure. So if you're talking about the one for up to 150,000, it's based on a sliding scale. So it depends on how much your family's income is based on that scale. And then it's prorated to the amount that you receive for the scholarship. But the goal is to cover your tuition and fees. But we just don't know exactly how much based on that sliding scale.
Excellent. What are the requirements of an independent student who's applying for grant or loan? So how does a student establish their independence?
So independency status, there's a couple of different ways. So the first way, and this is going to work for 99% of the population, is when you do your FAFSA application, under the student section, it's going to ask you various questions to determine your dependency or independency status. So one of the ways you might qualify as an independent student is going to ask you these questions is, were you born before a certain date? So are you going to be 24, okay, before January 1st of the FAFSA application? Are you a graduate student? Are you married? Do you have dependents? If you can answer yes to any of those questions, then you automatically considered an independent student and you wouldn't have to provide parental information. But everyone else is going to be considered. If you can't answer yes to any of those questions, you're automatically considered a dependent student. Sometimes students have, like I said, extenuating circumstances where there's an adverse home situation. If you have anything like that, definitely contact us in the financial aid office and we can work with you on those situations. Not everybody kind of fits into a box, and so you definitely want to contact us if you have any of those other situations, and we can work with you to see if independency status can be granted.
Excellent. We're getting more questions about scholarships specifically. Questions that our audience would like to know. What is the GPA cutoff to qualify for a merit or a Regent scholarship?
So for the merit of the Regent scholarships, usually it's only the top 1% of the incoming frosh who are even considered for the scholarships. So there's no separate application that you need to complete, but it is highly competitive. There is no specific GPA. So we actually have to look at the funding to see what is available, and then we look and see who is eligible. And there's other criteria aside from just GPA. We actually look at the courses you've taken in high school, your academic merit, your financial need. So all of those things are taken into consideration.
And are those types of scholarships available to both California residents and non-California residents?
So the Regents and the Campus Merit Scholarships are available to California residents. There is the Undergraduate Dean's Award, which is available to international students and out-of-state students.
And is the middle class scholarship available to non-California residents?
You would have to complete the FAFSA application in order to be eligible for that scholarship. So if you're an out-of-state student, you still would be eligible for it, but you do need to complete the FAFSA application.
Okay, I'm getting another question from Anthony, who wants to know, are there payment plans for families to help pay for the costs?
There are. So the payment plans are available, but they're not done through us in the financial aid office. So they're actually done through the billing office called Student Business Services. And so basically how it works is usually students are billed at the beginning of the quarter. You're charged one lump sum. You probably see your tuition, you probably see your housing, and your health insurance. Those are the three main charges you'll see. And so if you have difficulty paying that large lump sum at the beginning of the quarter, there are payment plans that you can be set up on. So instead of paying one time at the beginning, they can divide it into three. So a normal quarter is 3 months, you would make one payment every month. There is a charge for that if you want to do that for your tuition. Housing, I think, does it on behalf of the students without a charge, but you have to contact each of those separate offices to get on those payment plans.
We have another question from a student who says he's not a citizen, but they have a temporary protection status. They have California driver's license and a social security number, but they're not eligible for the FAFSA. How can they apply, or what can they apply for in terms of either financial aid, or how does residency work for them?
Well, for financial aid purposes, you might want to see if you cannot complete the FAFSA application and you don't meet any of the citizenship requirements, or you're not an eligible non-citizen, then you might see if you are eligible to complete a Dreamer application, or if you're an AB 540 student, to see that. If it's really specific, sometimes there's multiple different types of visas that maybe you're not sure about, contact the financial aid office and we can kind of walk you through the process just to make sure that if you are eligible or if you're not eligible to complete the FAFSA or the Dreamer application.
So as pertains to residency, students and parents who are in a temporary protected status are eligible to establish residency if they've met the other UC policy and guidelines. And so I just wanted to mention that most TPS students are unable to file the FAFSA, but they can definitely, as Diana said, file the California DREAM Act.
Excellent, thank you. Is there an advantage to submitting your FAFSA early, even if you only can estimate your 2013 income tax?
There is no advantage to a student completing their FAFSA in January versus March 1st, which is the day before the priority deadline. So as long as you meet the priority deadline, that's the most important thing. You don't have to have your taxes filed in order to complete the FAFSA. So I just want to make sure everybody's clear on that, because a lot of students miss that. They think that they need their taxes done or their parents' taxes done, so then they wait. Don't wait. You can put estimated information on your FAFSA application, so please do so. That's what I was saying is later on we might ask for a tax return to verify the information, but just make sure you complete your FAFSA and you can use estimated information.
Excellent, excellent. Ryan would like to know, do I receive a lump sum check for financial aid that already has tuition deducted? Or do I have to get financial aid, cash the check, and then make a payment? How does that process work?
So the school is always going to take what you owe them first before they give you a refund. And so the check or any direct deposit that you receive, your tuition, your housing, your health insurance, most likely will already be paid before you actually get a refund. The school is not going to give the student a $9,000 refund, then you have to turn around and pay the school. It's going to deduct your expenses before it actually gives you any money back.
And when do students expect bills? So they're new incoming freshmen or transfer students for fall of 2014. When can they expect to see a bill?
So the bills are done in August, okay? So August and September. So you start school for the incoming frost towards the end of September. So your bill will be due before you come here. So the middle of September is about when the fall bill is due. So notifications will go in August. And no paper bill is sent out. So everything's electronic and online. So you do want to make sure you check your student portal to see how much you owe for that upcoming quarter. And you're billed on a quarterly basis. You're not billed for the entire year when you see that first bill.
Okay. I do want to mention about that fees Yeah, she's right. Diana's right. Fees are assessed in August, in which that time, once they're assessed, students are able to go into their student portal, and then they would see the amount. There's the account summary or an account activity where you would see the amount you owe. And then once the billing statements are released, then you can also see that through your student portal. In addition, you can also give your parents access to, not to your portal, but to the Sally Mae e-portal, so they can in turn view, take a look at the bill and see the deadline dates.
Right, but the most accurate place to check your bill, especially if you do come to UC Santa Cruz, is your student portal.
Excellent. So Matthew would like to know, if I qualify for the Cal Grant and the Blue and Gold Opportunity Plan, can I choose which one I want?
No, you cannot. So the financial aid office will choose that for you. You cannot qualify for both. So it's one or the other. If you do qualify for the Cal Grant, because students receive notification of the Cal Grant first, then at a later date, usually the Blue and Gold will be awarded at a later date because we have to see who does qualify for the Cal Grant. You'll just have the Cal Grant first as part of your financial aid package, but you wouldn't qualify for both.
So we have some students who are interested in knowing if, as transfer students, they're eligible for the same types of grants and scholarships and loans as first-year students are.
Yes, absolutely. As a transfer student, you are still eligible for the university grants, for the federal direct student loans, and for the work study. Your deadline is just a little bit later because you don't have to submit your student intent to register until June 1st. So you might hear at a later date as far as your notification of your financial aid package later than the incoming frosh because you have a later deadline. But you do qualify for the same awards. They would still qualify for Cal Grant, for Blue and Gold, all of the awards.
And if they want to qualify for Cal Grant, how does that process work for them in terms of their GPA verification, etc.?
So for the transfer students, you don't have to submit a GPA verification necessarily. So a lot of times if you already are a Cal Grant eligible student, the community college will notify the California Student Aid Commission. Your Cal Grant's kind of on hold until you actually transfer to a four-year university.
We have a question from Kimberly who wants to know, is there financial aid available to study abroad?
Yes, absolutely. So if you go on a study abroad program, which is, they call it EAP here, Educational Abroad Program, and so all of the financial aid that you would have received here as a UC Santa Cruz student transfers over to your study abroad program. What you do want to make sure is that your study abroad program is done through UC Santa Cruz. There are different study abroad programs available. Some are not done through the school. And so for those, it's extremely tricky because the financial aid does not transfer to those programs. So you just want to make sure it's done through the UC.
Excellent. How many years can you receive financial aid for?
So the normal process is if you're an incoming freshman, it's usually 5 years or 15 quarters. If you take some courses over the summer, then that actually gets calculated into your financial aid eligibility. Most students were hoping that you don't have to be here for more than 5 years or that period of time. There are extensions that can be done, but normally it's 15 quarters. And so you do have to meet certain academic requirements though in order to qualify for your financial aid when you are here. So you can't continually fail classes, or if you're barred or you have any academic issues like that, you will lose your financial aid eligibility.
Diana, is that extended? Is their eligibility extended if they're on a part-time program?
Yeah, if you're on a part-time program, then that does get calculated into your financial aid eligibility as far as the time you have here. If you are in that situation, we will calculate it separately for you, but that is taken into consideration.
Thank you.
There are a lot of questions about loans. People are confused about how and want to know, do they have to apply separately for loans? When do they have to be paid back? How do they know what type of loan they're qualified for? Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so you don't have to apply for the federal direct student loan separately. Once you complete your FAFSA application, we'll include the Perkins, the subsidized, and the unsubsidized loan as part of your financial aid package, because loans are considered financial aid. Okay. If you do apply for a private loan, which doesn't require a FAFSA application, that's something different, but UC Santa Cruz will certify the loan for you because it has to be used for educational purposes. Um, Loans, the federal direct loans, do not have to be repaid while you're enrolled in school. So as long as you are enrolled at least part-time, the loans are kind of in a deferred status, okay, until after you graduate or become enrolled less than part-time. Once that happens, you can even get the loans deferred for 6 months and then they go into repayment. Once you go into repayment, each of the loans have a loan lender. You're going to be dealing with your loan lender to work on repayment issues. And they'll work with you to look at your income to see, how much you owe per month and monthly payment plans, all of that you'll do with them.
And what's the average amount of loan loan debt a UCSC student graduates with?
I don't have that exact figure with me, but usually an incoming freshman might come away with about $9,700 worth of loans and work study. And so if you multiply that over a period of 4 years, it might be about $35,000 or so if you do decide to take out all of your student loans. Yeah.
So we have some questions from folks who say, I'm not sure if I'm eligible for financial aid. Should I fill out the FAFSA?
I highly recommend you do the FAFSA. It does not hurt you in any way. So it's not something where you complete the FAFSA application, it makes you ineligible for financial aid at a later date. You should do it because you don't know what you might qualify for. You might qualify for more than what you thought in financial aid. And that it's good to have the application on file so at least we have your information there. So do it so that you at least meet the priority deadlines. It would be a bit more sad if you that you would have qualified for financial aid, but then you didn't do the application. So do the application first.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to mention also, I think it's always a good idea to apply even if you don't accept loans, because you never know in the future you may actually need something to buy a computer or something in which you may need to use that money at some point.
Excellent point. There's a student here who is a transfer student who wants to know, is there a time limit for the amount of aid a transfer student can receive? You said 15 quarters for a freshman. What about a transfer?
So a transfer student, usually it's about 2 years as well. So you have a period of time that the school or the federal government considers you to be able to finish within that period of time. And if, like I said, if you're a double major, you have extenuating circumstances or things like that, there definitely is the appeal process is available to you.
Excellent. So we have a question from Jesse who wants to know, if I win a scholarship at my community college, can I arrange for it to be given to me at your college, even though it's set to be given to me via financial aid at the community college?
So that is up to this agency itself. So if the scholarship you receive at the community college, if the foundation or the agency you're receiving it from is willing to award it to you while you're at UC Santa Cruz, then yes, we can incorporate it or give you the award here. But that's a determination that they have to make. Since the funding and the money isn't from us, we wouldn't be able to make that determination.
Where can students find more private scholarships? Are there any websites that you suggest?
Yes. Private scholarship information, there's lots of that available on the financial aid website. So if you go on the our financial aid website and you scroll down to the bottom of our page, we have lots and lots of links to different scholarships that are available out there. Please don't ever pay to have someone do a scholarship search for you. There's so many tools out there and so many sites that you can do all of the work on your own. And the other thing I mentioned is don't ever pay to have your FAFSA application completed either. It's a free application. So you kind of do want to watch out for those scams. And don't, sometimes scholarship search engines will ask for a lot of private information. Be wary of those as well. So you don't want to, put out all that information out there.
So we have a question from a family who says, we own a house in California but are now living abroad, or not living abroad, pardon me, living out of state. Do we still qualify as California residents because they own property here?
Unfortunately, owning a home in California does not mean that you would qualify as a California resident. In other words, if I live in California, work here, eat here, breathe here, but I decide to buy a home in Arizona, that doesn't make me an Arizona resident. So your resident status is going to be based on where you have the most ties and where you live. So it's good to read through the residence policy and guidelines, because you may qualify under temporary absence if if the reason you left California was due to something of a temporary nature. Then you may qualify if you've maintained all of your ties and here in California, even though you did go away for a period of time.
Another question from someone who says, my dad was a military veteran, but he's now deceased. What type of vets benefits might I be eligible for?
So you definitely, if you're an undergraduate student or you're under 26, you definitely want to check out the Department of Veterans Affairs website. Go to www.gibill.va.gov. Or you can go to the UC Veterans Services website and access that their website. But you want to apply for the Chapter 35 benefits, the Dependents and Survivors Education Assistance Program, and as well as the California State website for the CalVet waiver. So apply for those two. If you have further questions, contact me.
Excellent. And your and Diana's contact information is both listed here, which is fantastic. I just want to add too, since we're coming to the end of our time here, we've got time for a couple more questions. But we will be text chatting in the UC Santa Cruz text chat booth with both admissions and financial aid advisors from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So if we're not able to get to all of your questions, please join us in the text chat booth and we'll try and answer your questions at that time too. I want to say too that there are a lot of resources regarding residency that are in the UC Santa Cruz booth. So the 10 facts that everyone should know about California residency, that's in our UC Santa Cruz booth. So there's a lot of resources that we have posted there. And then this presentation will be posted through the College Week Live website as well as the UC Santa Cruz website shortly. So please know that this resource is going to be available for you on an ongoing basis. So I think we have time probably for one or two more questions. And one of the questions we're getting is from Sean, who wants to know how many different types of grants and scholarships and loans are students, California community college students, qualify for. So, you know, if they fill out the FAFSA, is there a specific grant or scholarship that they qualify for?
Yeah, if you complete the FAFSA application and you do qualify for it based on your financial need, there's a university grant, which is awarded from UC Santa Cruz. There's the Cal Grant, which is awarded through the state of California. There's the Regents and the Campus Merit Scholarships, which are our specific scholarships to UC Santa Cruz. And then there's the federal Pell Grant as well, which is awarded from the federal government. So there are multiple types of grants that you might be eligible for, and just when you complete that FAFSA application or the GPA verification warrant, if you need to do that, then we'll determine your financial aid eligibility.
So last minute, are there any tips, advice, or reminders that you want to make sure people remember about financial aid and residency?
I would say for financial aid, just make sure you complete the FAFSA application, meet all the priority deadlines. If you have any questions, please contact us. We're always available, you know, to answer your questions. And so as long as you do this, even if you're not sure if you qualify for financial aid, please do so. Make sure you're never paying to do the financial aid application. And then from there, you should be okay.
And for residency, just make sure that you check your to-do list to see if you're required to complete the form and send it in. And make sure you send it in a timely manner before the deadline. When you go on your to-do list, it always has a deadline on there, so you want to make sure, especially for financial aid there, which have very strict deadlines. And then also make sure that when you do complete your forms, that they are completed, because sometimes incomplete forms will result in additional delays. So please make sure that your form is complete. If we have the online SLR, the online statement of legal residence, available for this fall cycle, then that would happen automatically, because you wouldn't be able to submit it unless it's complete. But so we're hoping to get that up this year.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, Diana and Gloria. This was an incredibly helpful presentation. Our audience are all saying thank you.
Thank
And
you.
again, we
Thank
look
you.
forward to seeing many of you in fall of 2014. Everybody, I hope you have a wonderful day.